everyone, I am Clara Creative Girl, or you can also call me Rachel, and my pronouns are they, her. Today is gonna be something a little bit different from either my math videos that you guys have seen and the 6-month celebration of me being in Jules' community. This will be about my Animal Crossing New Horizons Island Seeker's Isle, which I completed on January 20th, 2023. This video will be going into like stuff you need to know before you visit Seeker's Isle. I'll have my dream address in the description below, but I want you to see this video and know about Seekers before you visit Seeker's Isle. So let's get into it. Let's go. Seeker's Isle Part 1. What is Seekers? This presentation will just be a history lesson about Seekers, including the language of the bears, all of the books, and many more. So let's go. Oh, and these are all the bears. What is Seekers, by the way? Seekers is a 12-book total series by Aaron Hunter. There are 6 books in the first series and 6 books in the second series. The first book series is just Seekers, and the second book series is Return to the Wild. The book series takes you on a journey with 4, soon to be 5, and then back to 4 bears who are on a quest to save the wild. Adrak and Luther were the ones sent on the quest, Adrak being told first, and then Luther being told later on, but they bring along Kalik, Toglo, and Sunyakun with them to help them save the wild. The bears saving the wild would bring pain, suffering, and eventually death to one of them. Who? That won't be revealed until later on, so stick around. The bears saving... I've already read that. Is Seekers worth a read even though it may not be in our age range? Yes, it is worth it. I'm in my 20s, early 20s, and I still enjoy the series. Just to give you a reference. As you saw in the beginning screen, Raccoon is alone. But why is that? Even though he was part of the group, he is always left out of fan art for some reason. There are fan arts with Raccoon in them, but there's very little I have discovered, which is very sad, because Raccoon deserves to be recognized because he comes into the series. It might be later on that he comes in, but he deserves to be recognized just as much as Kalik, Lissa, Toglo, and Atrak. Before we go on, in Seekers, the bears refer to different things different ways, and I'll give you a rundown of basic words you need to know when they come up. I'll be doing them in Seekers word to human word form. So, fat faces are humans, fire beasts are cars, fast-paced inns are houses or buildings, surfer beasts are trains, bike paths are roads, surfer paths are train tracks, and flying metal birds are helicopter or airplanes. So there's a little language lesson for you. Let's meet the books, shall we? Here's the first book series. The quest begins. Great Bear Lake, Smoke Mountain, The Last Wilderness, Fire in the Sky, and Spirits in the Stars. Here's Return to the Wild. Island of Shadows, The Melting Sea, River of Lost Bears, Forest of Wolves, The Burning Horizon, and finally, but not least, The Longest Day. Here's, if you want to read the blurbs, go ahead, but I'm just gonna skip them. Like, you can pause them. You can pause and read if you want to, but I won't be. Now, let's meet the bears. Who are the main bears in this amazing book series? They are Calic, Lusa, Toglo, Utrak, and Yakun. And you see what I mean when I say this little to no fanart for Yakun? Yeah, it's quite sad. What do you need to know about the main bears? Well, let's see. It's all about Calic. Calic was born at the melting sea. She has a brother named Takik and a mom named Nisa. Their dad is unknown. Her and Yakun have two cubs named Julian and Suka. She's a polar bear who loved to play with Takik when they were younger. Unfortunately, and the quest begins, her and Takik lose Nisa to orcas as they try to go to land since the ice was melting due to the heat of burn sky, which is summer. Calic and Takik get separated due to that, and don't get reunited for a long time. What happens to them from there will be explained. And also, an alternative timeline that I have discovered, Calic could have been killed by Toglo, or she could have either been killed by him or died somehow in the everlasting ice, which I'm shocked, because in the series they become so close, they become so close that it's shocking to me that he could have killed her in an alternative timeline. All about Lusa! She was born in a bear bowl, which is a zoo. She has no siblings. Her mother is Asia, and her dad is King. She has two cubs named Asia and Yagi. She's a black bear who loves to play games with her close friend Yagi, and a she bear who looks up to her named Stella. After Toglo's mom Olga arrives at the bear bowl and dies, Lisa escapes the bear bowl to find Toglo and delivers a message Olga had told her to give him before she died. She gets told the same mission Ajay gets told, which was to save the wild, as an event happens to her. This event will be mentioned later on. All about Toglo. He was born in the forest, in which the area is labeled on the Seeker's map Toglo's birthden. He has an older brother named Dolby and three half-siblings who his mom had before him, and Dolby, who unfortunately died. His mom is Orca, and his dad is Shogun. He has a cub named Orca. Give me 1 second to do something. And I'll read the next thing. I might go back for a second, but please ignore that. He is a grizzly bear who was quite mad at his mom after Dolby sadly passes away. For she had abandoned him shortly after. Later, she gets put in the bear bowl, where Lisa is, and he is aware of what happened thereafter. When Lisa tells him the message Olga told her to tell him, he is quite angry with her, but she ends up traveling with him in a drag. And as mentioned in Calic's thing, in the alternative timeline, he could have killed Calic in the everlasting ice, which again is so crazy. It's so crazy. All about a drag, and you could probably see where this is going just by this picture. It is not known where he was born, but he was later found by Toglo where Toglo lives, which is labeled as Toglo's birthden. He doesn't have any siblings, but has a mom named Ursa. He is a shape-shifting bear who loses Ursa due to fat faces who hunt for bears, and he had to change into a bird to get away. He's told by Ursa before she dies that he needs to save the wild. He follows the star as a guide as he navigates how to save the wild. He gets caught by Fat Faces again, but Toggle saves him, and they both run away from the Fat Faces. Unfortunately, we lose Udrak in the last book of the first series. More information about what happened later on. All about Yakun. He is from Star Island. He has a brother named Unalak, and his parents are known, but the names are unknown. And as mentioned before, he has 2 cubs with Kalik, Julian and Suka. He is a polar bear who joined Kalik, Lissa, and Toglo on their journey to find their forever home after Atrak passes away. He gets dangerously hurt when traveling with the others to Toglo's Bifton by getting one of his paws stuck in a fly trap, and this is 2 tools from that trap. But he turns out fine in the end and survives. Let us take time to honor some bears. Because, of course, in just about every book series, there are deaths, and I wanted to take a moment to remember those who died in Seekers, from the main bears to everyone else in the series. The next few slides, the next slide will be showing their name, what kind of bear they are, how they died, and who they're related to. Lisa, who is a polar bear, and they died because of orcas. And she's related to Kalik, who is her daughter. Nanak is a polar bear who died from injuries from a crash due to a metal flying bird. And she's related to Kalik, but not really. She just takes her in as a daughter. Kalik, we're talking about the alternative timeline here, with a polar bear, and they get killed by Toglo, and of course they're she's related to Nisa, who is Kalik's mom. Giona is a black bear, who dies by shock after she falls off of a waterfall in Toglo's Bifton, and it is unknown who she is related to. There's one that I forgot to add, but we'll talk about it later. Oka is a grizzly bear who died because she attacked a fat face, and they shot her because of that. Sorry, trigger warning about that. And she's related to Toglo, who is Orca's son. Toby, who is a grizzly bear, who died of sickness, and he's related to Toglo and Orca, who is Toglo's brother and Orca's son. Hajrak, who is a shapeshifter, but his main form is a grizzly bear, he died because of an avalanche on Star Island. Ursa, and he's related to Ursa, who is his mom. And finally, Ursa, who is a grizzly bear, and who died because of fat-face hunters. And she's related to Atrak, her son. Well, I think that is everything I should talk about for the book series. Part 2 of the presentation will be about Seeker's Isle, my Animal Crossing island, which includes the different areas on the map and their significance to the story. It will include all kinds of other things, but you'll see that in Part 2. I hope you learned what you felt like you could learn about Seekers, and thank you for reading. I think I'm gonna set up the other one. Gonna set up the other one. And we're good to go. So let's go. And now let's get on with this. Seeker's Isle Part 2. Locations and the significance. This would be about all the locations for seekers and what the significance is to the seas. Hello! So here we are. We are in part 2. In part 1, you learned about the books, the characters, and everything dealing with them. In part 2, we will go over all the locations on the map for seekers, and then break down the major things that happened on each location. I will also provide real-life pictures of each location and the human name for them. I hope you enjoy and learn something. Here's a refresh on the seeker's language. And just main things. Flat faces are humans, fire beasts are cars, flat face stands are houses and buildings, black paths are roads, and silver paths are train tracks. So, gonna take a second for you guys to look at these maps. Zoom in if you need to. What are these maps? Well, these two maps are the maps for both regular seekers and return to the wild. I have an arrow pointing to which is which. It has the locations and the lines of the bears, showing the paths they took on their journey. Now that you've seen these maps, you'll see where each book takes place. Where does each book take place? And the quest begins. It takes place in a lot of locations because the bears are not together yet. But by the end, Lissa, Toggle, and Adrak will be together, with Kalik still not with them. With Kalik, she starts out in the melting sea. Then Nisa dies after Nisa dies and Taggart gets separated, she goes to the place of metal birds and goes through the car path. And that's where it stops for this book. For Lissa, she spends most of the book in the bear bowl, but she escapes and goes through Sky Ridge into Toggle's birth den, where she meets Toggle and Atrak, and the book stops there. Toggle stays within his birth den even after Olga leaves him throughout the book. It is not known where Atrak is from, but he gets rescued from Fat Faces by Toggle on page 259, and they're together from then on. Great Bear Lake. Most of the book takes place at the location Great Bear Lake, where all four of the bears unite and start their journey to save the wild. The bears are still a little separated at the beginning, though before they are brought together. Kalik starts out traveling alone to Great Bear Lake, while still taking the claw path. Lissa, Toggle, and Atrak all travel together through a little smoke mountain until they reach Great Bear Lake. By the end of the book, all four of the bears are together and will remain together. Smoke Mountain. Most of the book takes place on Smoke Mountain, but they slowly traveled there and then started heading to the last wilderness. The last wilderness. The whole book takes place at the last wilderness, but they head towards the everlasting ice at the end. The book mainly takes place at the everlasting ice, but they separate at one point, with Calix and Atrak staying on the ice, and with Luth and Toggle going back to the last wilderness. They come back together at the end, though. The whole book takes place on Star Island in Spirits in the Stars. Unfortunately, we do lose Atrak while there, and Yalkon takes the place of Atrak at the end of the book. And then, from this point on, Yalkon is and will be with Calic, Luther, and Toglo. In Island of Shadows, the Island of Shadows are not labeled on the map for Return to the Wild, but you can see where Calic, Luther, Toglo, Atra, and Raccoon's lines are going through it, so I didn't realize I had added a track. Our tracks are in spirit though. But they spend most of the book on Island of Shadows. The Melting Sea. They head towards the Burnt Sky mating place near the Melting Sea, where they rescue several bears, then head their way to the Melting Sea, where they stay the rest of the book. In River of Lost Bears, they head towards the Toglo's birthday, and they stay there the entire book. In Forest of Wolves, they remain in Toglo's birthday for the entirety of the book, mainly because of Yakun's injury that he had sustained in River of Lost Bears. They start trying to head to Great Bear Lake again, but after Lisa gets injured, they are separated for the majority of the book, but reunite at the end. Calic, Toglo, and Yakun travel within Toglo's birthday to try to find Luther until they reunite with her. Luther is stuck in a place that is like a bear ball until she escapes and reunites with the others. The last book. They spend the majority of the book at Great Bear Lake, and this is where the journey ends for the bears. They head their own ways, with Calic and Yokon heading to Star Island, Luther heading to the territory of her future mate Mikey, and Toglo and his future mate Ayana heading to Toglo's territory and his birthday. They all reunite at Great Bear Lake again 30 years later, but with cubs. Calic and Yokon had 2 cubs, Luther and Mikey had 2 cubs, and Toglo and Ayana had 1. Here are the locations for seekers. There's being from the location names, the human names, and breaking down all that happens there, and I will provide pictures of the actual place. First, we're going to the bear's birth areas. First, the Melting Sea, which is known as the Hudson Bay. This is where Calic and Taggart were born. Lisa sadly passes away because of orcas. Calic and Taggart gets reunited again, but he is with the wood bears that I dealt with at Great Bear Lake before. The bears who help rescue many polar bears from the no-call rescue center nearby the Melting Sea. And that's all that really happens on the Melting Sea. Luther's Bear Bowl, which is known as the Greater Vancouver Zoo. This is where Luther was born. When Luther was hit by a fire beast in Smoke Mountain, she had a dream where she was back in the Bear Bowl, which is where she was told to save the wild alongside her track. And this is what I forgot to add when we were mentioning the bears who all died. It is suggested that Ashia, Luther's mom, could have passed away after Luther escaped the Bear Bowl. For in Spirits in the Stars, Luther had a dream where she was in the Bear Bowl again, and there were stars in Ashia's fur. So it's indicating that Ashia had passed, but it was never confirmed. Toglo's birthday, which is the Stoke National Park. This is where Toglo and possibly Adrak were born. Tulbi, Toglo's older brother, passes, making Olga leave him. Giona, a bear Calic, Lisa, Toglo, and Yonkon had met there, passes away from falling over a waterfall. Toglo fights his dad for his territory. And also in here, Yakun sustains an injury from a fire trap getting his paw stuck, but he ended up losing 2 claws, which we learned about that in the when we were talking about River of Lost Bears. Saw Island, uh, also known as Ellesmere Island. This is where the raccoon is from, but this is also where Ajak sadly passes away. The bears finish their journey of saving the wild here as well. The bears who live here were sick and because of the fish they caught, but after the main bear saved the wild, they were fine again. Kalik meets her adoptive son Kissimmee and takes care of him while his mother was sick. Here's the other locations that aren't related to the other bears. Smoke Mountain, known as the Mackenzie Mountains. This location is where the third book of Seekers took place. Lisa gets hit by a fire beast at the beginning of it, forcing the bears to go into the west of Smoke Mountain. They meet an elderly bear named Kopak, who tells them to go to the last wilderness, which is where Adrak believes they had to go for the journey to see the wild. The last wilderness, which is the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. Adrak believed that this is a place they needed to save the wild at, but turns out this wasn't the place they needed to save it yet. Adrak swallowed a fish hook while he was a seagull, and due to that, he had to shapeshift into Fatface and get help from Fatfaces. Toggle leaves the group for a while they were here, but they came back to them at the end. One cool thing about this, not saying that is cool that Adrak could have died because of this, but on my island, Animal Crossing Island, based off this series, I represent one of the flat faces that Adrak gets help with the fish hook one, so yeah. The Everlasting Ice, or Buford Sea. Lisa and Toggle separate from Calic and Adrak for a bit because Lisa was being affected by long sleep, also known as hibernation. Nothing else really happened other than the bears getting separated for the majority of the book Fire in the Sky. Island of Shadows, known as Baffin Island. Toggle falls into a tunnel in it and is stuck. He believes that he will die because he couldn't get out, but Adrak comes to him in spirit and helps him out. They meet a polar bear, half grizzly bear, named Nenilak, who disrespects Adrak, which, keep in mind, Adrak from that book on is dead, and lies about what happened to him, causing Toggle to fight his dad. Here's some things to keep in mind. The cave on Smoke Mountain represents when Lusa got hit by a fire beast, and the bear stayed in the cave while she recovered. This is referring to the cave on Smoke Mountain on my island. Not all villagers are bears. That is because Stella is representing a character actually named Stella in Seekers. I actually ended up getting rid of Sky and Avery. Yeah, so let's just ignore that. The gap in Island of Shadows represents the hole that toggles fell into. I have myself on the island, which I was talked about that earlier as well, but this explains it better than I did. Here's something cute you could say when you get to Smoke Mountain. In Smoke Mountain, Calix has a quote that has stuck with me ever since I read it because it was really funny. Here's the context with it. It was while Lisa was recovering from being hit by a fire beast, and her and Toggle had stayed behind, and he was having her do exercises to strengthen her leg while Calic and Adrak hunted. Calic and Adrak were coming back from hunting, and Lisa had said something Toggle would say, and Toggle said something Lisa would usually say, and that's when Calic said the following quote. Since when did you two switch blames? I think it would be so cute if you set out when you reach the cave on Smoke Mountain to represent that scene. And that's everything. That is everything that you need to know about Seeker's Idol. You got to know the history of Seekers, like the books, and all about the main bears and stuff like that. You also got to learn information about the locations. Now that you guys have seen this video, I hope you go to my VA address, which again will be in the description of this video. But yeah, happy tolling!